our speaker for our talk is professor of the University of the Philippines at the Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology. She is a consultant of OBGYN at the PGH. She recently graduated with a PhD in Health Sciences at UP Manila. She is a woman wellness advocate, and she's a host, producer of Usapang P. It's a radio program, and P means Puso, Puson, Puerta, Pamilya, at Iba pa, at DZUP 11602. Let us welcome Dr. Stephanie FAYE Samadan Cagayan.
Good morning, June. Good morning, Dr. June. Good morning, everyone. Coming after the heels of Dr. Gap Legaspi, parang bigla akong kinabahan. So, Kat, can you flash my first slide? So, first of all, before beginning this very, very short talk on your career path, let me just say a few words of thankfulness to the organizing committee, most especially Dr. Ana Bondok, my classmate and my sis. Thank you for inviting me to give this talk. So, yeah. So, I was tasked by Dr. Ana to talk on residency. So, is it now, next year, or never? So, these are actually big decisions, no? Big decisions that we're supposed to make, you're supposed to make at this point in your life, and that is supposed to give you a lifetime of reward, or will it be regrets in the meantime? So with a lot of options that are now available to you, pero napaisip ako, lots of options ba talaga? How will you go about carving for yourselves a career path that would be right for you? So at this point in time. So I don't know how to answer that question, but I can probably share with you my experience. I was listening to Dr. Gap a while ago. He was actually my resident when I rotated as a clerk and intern in PGH. And even then talaga pong crush ng bayan na yan si Dr. Gap. And tama po si Dr. Jean and Dr. June. Very hip po and very modern si Dr. Gap talaga. So anyway, going back to me. My path to becoming an MD and subsequently as an OBGYN, perhaps just like most of you, followed a very traditional route. No? So we were introduced to patients gradually from first year up to internship. We carefully built on honing our skills to diagnose and to manage our patients in a step-ladder fashion. Unlike you, however, at that time, and I think Dr. Ann and Dr. June will attest to this, our options after medical school is quite limited. For most of us, the only track that is open would really be going into a residency program. Yung 5-star physician, 6-star physician, hindi pa po namin naririnig yan noong panahon namin. So aside from that, the other option that is quite, we were quite exposed to would probably be in the academe, as most of our teachers are also specialists. So this year, for you young people who are tuned in, watching us, many of you had your training abruptly ended due to this COVID pandemic. Some of you, though, like for those who were in PGH as lateral entrants, were actually called upon to volunteer or work in the hospital even before your time in medical school was over. And as young people, with your new sparkling white coat and gown and your newly minted, and you as with your newly minted PRC ID, will now march on to an outside world which is profoundly altered by this pandemic. So, how will you now go about deciding on your path? Okay, so in ordinary times, this is actually what I will be telling you. And as I was also listening to Dr. Gap, I think we were following the same formula. We had a recipe book, a cookbook, for trying to figure out. And since you're not really children anymore, and these are all the same algorithms or flow chart that you went through as you were deciding whether to pursue medicine or other career path as you finish your pre-med, I think this will be the same formula that you followed, no? So you assessed yourself, you looked inside yourself, and you decided on your values, interests, what are your soft skills and aptitude, and aside from that, no, so you also factored in your personality, and the opportunities and circumstances available to you. As for me, uh, I graduated from the College of Medicine in 1993. Just a short background on who I am. I I was part of the InterMed program, the Integrated Liberal Arts and Medicine program. So it's the shortened period for students. I entered medicine after 2 years of my pre-med course. So on my third year, I was already uh, first year medical student. Okay, so my third year of college. This is a very personal story that I will be telling you. Unlike most students that follow the path of med school, I actually got myself pregnant at the age of 19 and had my first baby at the age of 20. By then, I was in between first year and second year med proper. So just to give you an idea of my journey throughout this whole thing. So by the time I graduated from medicine, I already had a young child in tow. I had a 3-year-old child. So my decision was actually not really taken away from me, whether to go outside of the country. And during our times in the early 90s, very open. No? Just like Dr. Gap, very open ang opportunities abroad to train. Okay, so more than half of my batchmates were actually left, no, took the USMLE and left for the States for further studies. And Dr. Anna was actually part of that. But me, since I already had a family by then, parang the only choice that I had was to stay here in the Philippines. Mainly because of the family issues. Aside from that, though, really the will to serve is there, no? So it was a choice of there was actually no choice between staying here and leaving for abroad. The choice was just stay here in the Philippines. But I had a lot of choices regarding what field of residency to take. So was it a medical field or a surgical field? Pagod na po ako mag-aral. Ayoko na po mag-isip. Parang hindi na po kaya ng utak ko mag-isip after being in school for such a long time and trying to study so many things. So really, no, it was a surgical field for me. And at that time, I really wanted to go into surgery. Okay, but I saw how hard the training program was for surgical residents. There were very few women who were entering the field. The type of in surgery at that time, you go for duty for straight 48 hours and then have off for the next day. Okay, and then there were very few women, so that's not a doable thing for me. So the other options that I had was OB and ENT. Definitely, I know what I didn't want. I didn't want to go into medicine or pediatrics. Okay, so, and since I was already a mother by then, sabi ko, siguro madali lang to kasi nanay na ako eh. I can easily relate to mommies. Okay, plus the fact that I gravitated because mainly obstetrics is not a pathologic field, no? So you're seeing a lot of mommies, they're very happy, they have an altered physiologic state. So you will be taking care of them for a very long time. Magbuntis sila ngayon, the next time buntis sila uli, ikaw uli ang doktor nila. So relatively, you have an assured source of income for the rest of your life. And then they will refer their ates, they will refer their sisters, they will refer their cousins, they will refer their titas, no? So it's in my mind then, it was an easy field, okay? Okay, so actually, yun yung reason ko for going into OB kasi akala ko madali siya. Pero hindi pala siya madali. Okay, so what did my job entail? During residency and as a young consultant, sleepless nights, no? Constant absences from family gatherings, which is the same during medical school. It's the same. But I think you have the pro of being in a pandemic now is you get to stay in school. Our residents are actually in their own homes. No, they only go on duties for a short period of time and then quarantine themselves for 1 or 2 weeks, depending on their exposure to patients. So this is the kind of I think of this as more of a benefit for the residents than rather than what I went through as a resident at that time. Okay, constant absence, and really it's a work-life imbalance. So if you have seen obstetricians, most of us have type A personalities, go, go, go. We hardly take time to breathe. Okay, we don't know when our patients will arrive. Most of our cases are emergencies. We cannot schedule. So when a baby wants to come out, he or she will come out. And in most cases, like I have experience in my practice, it's when I had a lot of other things to do that when these babies know their timing. Kapag ka talaga namang marami pa akong gagawin, saka nila gusto magsilabasan. And September, no, the Burr months are very, very good months for OBs. Kasi ours is not, the marrying month for Filipinos is not actually June. For Filipinos, it's December to February. Take it during the ordinary times. Kasi mas maraming nagpapakasal during December to February. Okay, so nabubuntis sila by then, mga honeymoon babies, and then manganganak sila during the birth months. So these are actually busy months. So even if now, during the pandemic, busy months pa rin po ang birth months. Kasi the pandemic or no pandemic, you cannot stop people from having babies. Is that good or is that bad? So you can think of it in different ways. Yun. So after my residency, I sort of landed running. Wala akong lag time in terms of waiting for patients. I don't know. Siguro it was a blessing. Come to think of it, I was looking back at my experience, and I was really blessed to have no waiting time for my practice to pick up. Okay, so however, what I realized was that aside from the clinical field, I really love learning. So for learning, it didn't stop for me. I was thinking of shifting to full-time academic work, no, and research, but clinical practice was actually making. I figured out that the clinical practice makes for me to become a better teacher and researcher. So I didn't stop with my clinical practice. And up to now, I am still juggling being a clinician, being an academician, as well as a researcher. Plus, of course, pagsama-samahin niyo po yung kita ng, at least dito in the Philippines, no? Kita ng teacher, researcher, mas malaki pa rin po ang kikitain ng OB. Okay? If you're really masipag, masigasig, no? And you have a very good interpersonal skills, hindi po kayo mauubusan ng pasyente with OB. Okay. So, however, after some time, because as I've said, I landed on my feet running after residency. So, my clinical practice peaked in less than 3 years. I had a good practice, but I wanted to do so many things. So I burned out early as well. So I think in my career, if I graduated in 1993 at the age of, secret na lang yung age, Dr. Ana and I already had our 25th year for our class. So almost 25, 28, 27 years after graduating from medicine, I probably had already burned out thrice, big major burnouts. Okay, so having a good support system, actually enabled me to come back or rise from the ashes each time I burned out. So that is what is good from my experience. I burned out, people support me, and then I rise back just like a phoenix, reborn, reinvented. So that's why also in perhaps when if you were listening to how Dr. June introduced me, I'm also a producer. I also have a wellness program. I created my own wellness program. It's Sayuntis or Sayaw ng Buntis. It's similar to Lamas. I teach belly dance and yoga to my patients because at that time, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I said I just want to dance, not dance every time, belly dance. I just wanted to do belly dance. So I discovered belly dance as a way for me to rejuvenate myself. If Dr. Gap has his saxophone, it was actually belly dance for me. Okay, and then I realized belly dance, pwede to sa mga nanay. It will help them go through the process of pregnancy and delivery joyfully. So while we were doing it, I was having fun. Kaso bumalik na naman, nag-revert na naman to work because I was always thinking of my patients. So I crafted sayuntis or sayaw ng buntis. And it's hindi rin sa pagbubuhat ng bangko, it's already a well-renowned pregnancy program. Okay. Along the way, I picked up two other kids. So I have three children. My first born was during medical school in second year proper. My second baby was during first year residency of obstetrics, and my third baby was during the fourth year residency in obstetrics. Why do I have to divulge such personal information about me? Mainly because, again, to model, you can do it. As I just want you to know that it's doable, it's possible. Okay, having a life outside of med is possible. Having a life outside of your residency is possible. And perhaps the reason why I was able to do, I am doing all the things that I want to do is mainly because I have a very, very good support system. Okay, meron akong sariling cheering squad. They tell me that you can do it, mommy. And now that the age gap is just not so wide, they actually help me with all the tasks that I have to do to be able to deliver my deliverables for the academe, in my teaching job, and in my research. So now we're fully online. No, we're teaching med students on the Zoom platform, on different LMS. I'm able to adapt well, mainly because I have a lot of help from the people I love. Okay, so that's one advice. So now, looking back or going forward, I would now like you to imagine your future selves. Okay, what would now be your goals? Can you think of yourself a year from now? So you have your short-term goal, you have your mid-term goal, and you have your long-term goal. At this point in time, it's hard to think of long-term goals when personally for me, my only goal is to survive day to day to day at this point in time. No? So up to December, if possible, 2021, bahala na. What will happen next? If I am feeling this right now, what more would be your thoughts on where to go next or what to plan next for your life? So this is how I'm feeling at this point in time. I'm sure if I can empathize with you, you're also at your crossroads. And it's easy for someone like me to look back in hindsight. It's always a 2020 vision. See, it's the year 2020. So it's always a perfect vision when when you're looking back. But I feel for you, looking forward, what will your future hold? So I also had a lot of I had a lot of doubts, no, on what to do with my life. I have several crossroads. Again, I've heard that word, and it's also in my script, so to say. Crossroads are part was the word crossroad was part of my script, similar to Dr. Gap's. And you will be choosing. You will be having a lot of decision trees along the way. Okay, so now, uh, What will be next for you at this point in time? Is it residency? If you decide that it's residency, is it now, next year, or never? I cannot really answer that for you because, as I've said, you need to be able to assess yourselves. What is important though is for me to tell you this, and hopefully, no, to in some ways help you decide. Okay, you are now fresh graduates, you are now young doctors, and at times of crisis such as this pandemic will generate extreme moral dilemmas for all of us. Situations that we cannot begin to imagine, okay? Unthinkable choices emerging between our options that all seem bad. I don't know. I hope you're all well right now, that all your family and loved ones are safe. Okay. Each with harms and negative outcomes for each of the decisions. You're not even sure if the decision that you will be making will be good, no? Will be the best decision for the rest of your life. During this COVID pandemic, these moral dilemmas that we are experiencing right now, across all the healthcare landscape, it seems that we're trying to go back to normal, but uh, Dr. Gap was very positive. 7 months, we're doing a lot. Yes, but I don't think we will ever go back to the normal times. So we really have to adapt. Okay? And you are not exempt from all these dilemmas. Okay, most of you who chose medicine, no, going into medicine as a course or as a profession, believe that through science, through the medical field, we can all help in nation building. And I still feel that way. That's actually one of the main reasons why I decided to stay. I wanted to help in nation building. When I said I wanted to serve the Filipino nation, then when I was interviewed for medical school when I was only 15 years old, okay, that phrase, that sentence, I wanted to serve the Filipino people, still rings true inside my heart up to this present times. Okay, so often we are taught in the scientific, we are taught that the scientific method and evidence-based principles of patient management. Um, as we went through the different years of medicine, you will be asked to look at your clinical practice guidelines. You will be asked to critically appraise journals and then decide what will be the best management for the patient that you are presented with. That will also ring true now for how you will decide on what your life path will be for the next years, no? So you also need to appraise evidence, okay? But what is evidence right now? Okay, the entire planet leaving hundreds and thousands dead in its wake. When we see our friends and family members, no, falling ill, at this point in time, I'm actually reminded, kailan ba yung huling Games of Thrones? No? I think 2 years ago. I'm reminded of what Jon Snow said in the Games of Thrones. At the end of the day, I know nothing. I don't even know if my time will be up later, tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now. This is what the pandemic has taught me. This pandemic really rudely awakened me from how I imagined myself to be. I thought before all of this, I was very brave, I was very courageous, I was selfless, I was a highly accomplished physician. But this pandemic has taught me, hindi pala ako brave, hindi pala ako courageous. At the end of the day, I am cowering in fear for my loved ones and for myself. And this is the truth. Much as I would like to inspire you, I would just like to be honest also as to what or where I am coming in from now. Okay. But there is no time more palpable at this point, no? For every time I felt fear, this is what I do. Perhaps just like Dr. Legaspi, I needed to find courage inside myself, no? Every time I felt fear, I forced myself to go out there. Okay, of course, with full PPEs. And I don't know if you see your OB consultants, kami yata may pinakamagandang PPE, kailangan matching yung may headband pa, matching yung aming face shield, face mask, no? Kasama na yung aming air purifier, matching yung colors niyan, pati yung ISO gowns namin when we clinics. If you will look at your OB consultants, kami na yata yung pinakapraning na doktor around. Pero nasa labas pa rin kami, and we still try to keep our promises to our patients, to keep on serving them and being their partners in their path for healing. Okay? I would also like to be part of that group who could raise alarm bells and ask the tough questions when needed for my society, because that is also our mandate as physicians. Okay? I would also like to be part of that group who can encourage and support each other, no? Hindi pwedeng maging hero mag-isa eh. So kailangan lahat tayo tulong-tulong. Cliche man lang yung hashtag na we heal as one. But that is really the truth. We cannot get out of this pandemic alive if we just only look out for ourselves. We need to keep looking out for each other. Okay? Now more than ever, we need to really demonstrate moral courage in every clinical encounter. Kahit nandyan lang kayo sa bahay, kahit hindi pa kayo nagpa-practice, you with your PRC IDs can already, look at patients, do teleconsults, do telemedicines. You don't need a residency to be able to serve and to carry out your responsibilities as doctors. In times of crisis, this is really the time when moral courage should really be sought. So at the end of the day, this is just what I would like to leave with you. You get to answer that question. Kayo yan. Residency. Gusto niyo ba mag-residency? If your answer is yes, when is the right time to do it? Now? Next year? Never. I don't really want to impose on you. But if you're going to look at this pandemic as a very, very opportune time for you to be able to learn beyond what we have taught you in med school, then you can actually take this opportunity to do so. Okay? But as a mother, I would be very fearful. I would be very fearful to let you out. Pero sino nga? Okay, kung hindi tayo, sino ang gagamot sa ating mga kababayan? And keeping things in perspective, there's really no judgment here. Walang maling decision, walang maling daan. So sabi natin crossroads, maraming sanga-sanga. You can always recalibrate and find a different route. If you decide to go into residency either now or next year and then decide this is not the right road for me, you can always go back or change roads. Wala naman nagsabing yun lang ang daan na pwedeng tunguhan doon sa ultimate goal na gusto mong puntahan. And what is that ultimate goal? Again, you need to answer that for yourself. Sometimes circumstances beyond our control, such as this pandemic, mean that a decision we made wasn't the right one at a certain point in time. And of course, all people change. Our values change along time. Our circumstances change. Meron akong mga residents, matatapos na, gagraduate na, biglang nag-drop out sa residency. Bakit? Abay, nakahanap ng boyfriend. Ang boyfriend nila taga-abroad. O gusto ng kanila, nasa Europa na sila ngayon. Hindi sila natapos ng residency, but they're very happy. They found the love of their lives. Okay, so each of us will have different reasons for doing the things that we do, for going the routes that we go through, and that is fine as long as you are happy with your decision every time. There is no wrong decision. Most of my accomplishments are born out of mistakes. If I didn't fail 1,000 times, I will not be where I am today. It wasn't an easy road for me. I cannot cram into 15-20 minutes my story. Ang haba, para siyang MMK. But rest assured that if I didn't have all the failures that I was able to go through along my life, and the first feeling sort of failure at that time was was teenage pregnancy, that I'm probably not where I am right now. And just like Dr. Gap has said, there's really no regrets. Everything that happened, where I am right now, is born out of every circumstance that happened to me along the way. So it's okay. Please don't be afraid to make mistakes, to make the wrong decisions. But don't overthink them. Sometimes you need to learn when to listen to your gut, when to listen to your heart. Okay, so basically, my only advice to you when it comes to decision making in terms of your career or whatever path you would like to take is fall in love with whatever it is you're doing. And then you will never regret it. Okay, just keep on falling in love. And that's all. Dr. June, I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Faye, for that wonderful life story you've shared with us. Nakaka-inspire ho. Like Dr. Gap inspired all our young doctors here. Your life story has also inspired all the young doctors. It also inspired me. And I know, for a very smart person, you entered basically intermed at the age of 15, right? And then by 17, you were already in medical school, first year. And then, as you said, you were blessed at the age of 19 to have a baby. And I'm sure it has been very hard, diba, to have a baby during medical school. And I'm just wondering, maybe you can share with our young doctors, for our female doctors who may want to go into residency and they may be pregnant because they got married and then eventually they get pregnant. What advice can you give them for these female patients handling, pregnancy and having a baby during residency? Faye, Dr. Faye?
Hindi po madali. Hindi po madali. It's not easy. You will cry a lot of times. You will be torn between in many times, no, I needed to absent myself because my children got sick. I had to attend PTAs. Actually, better nga ngayon eh. During my time, parang ano siya, tabu na magpapaalam ka. Unless mamamatay ka na, parang bawal mag-absent, bawal mag-leave of absence kasi parang ang feeling mo napipilayan yung service team every time walang or kulang yung duty team. So ngayon hindi na ganoon, parang mas maganda na yung understanding natin na there should really be work-life balance and we are allowed leave of absences. So basically, we know what is due to us. We need to know how to balance our time very well. A very good support system is a must, no? So again, you have to love what you do and you have to have an understanding partner, no? My partner, my husband is not an MD, non-showbiz siya. So I think I'm very, very lucky that even at the very outset, at the very start, he understood what I wanted to do and what I needed to do. So at that time, he balances my incompetence as a mother, he balances it. But again, looking back, ngayon, bawi naman. You just need really to prioritize. No? It's not family all at the same time, always at the top of your mind. So if you explain to your loved ones, to your family, what you need to do, then you can do your time management well. The problem is with OB kasi, no? Palagi yan eh, I have already observed that if you finish obstetric residency and wala ka pang boyfriend, mahihirapan ka na mag-asawa. Okay, so wag naman sanang kasing aga ko na nag-asawa, pero sana by the time na mag-second year or third year, naiisip nyo na yung inyong reproductive functions kasi masaya rin naman. Pero I'm not so sure right now. I think most youngsters, no, medical doctors are different. They have a different mindset regarding having a family, raising a family. Again, we look back at our values and then we decide for ourselves what we would like, what we would want for ourselves. But if you know what is important to you, then we should be able to prioritize. Okay? Ano lang siya, kailangan lang importante talaga ang two-way communication and support between all members of the family. Sinasama ko yung mga anak ko sa OR. When they were actually big enough, they have scrub suits. They would sleep in the call room with me when I'm on duty as the obstetrician on duty. Some of them, no, parang lahat na ng residents, my co-residents were all their titas and titos. So, you find your own balance. It's doable. Pero nakakaiyak. Promise. Hanggang ngayon din naman nakakaiyak when you have to live in the midst of a family gathering because a patient has, you have an emergency. You also have an accountability to your patient. You have a sworn commitment to your patient. So, you have to decide.
Thank you, Dr. Faye. My understanding that you're wearing a lot of hats right now, right? You are practicing OBGYN, you are a faculty at the UP College of Medicine, you are also a researcher, and then you also have your own broadcast program. People are excited to learn ano bang tong usapang P na radio program. So people are very interested in hearing what the program is.
No, it's a radio program for women, mainly by women as well. So we bring to forth taboo. It's not just about OB. It's not just about reproductive health. It's anything and everything related to being a woman. So we talk about breaking glass ceilings. We talk about feminism. Pero just the run of the mill, anything pagbabudget, no, how to raise kids, no, love life, love lost, forgiveness, no, menopause, health concerns, lahat. Parang kumbaga, yung mga hindi mo naman naririnig sa regular radio programs, pwede natin pag-usapan. Even about women policemen, problems of indigenous people, we also talk about that. Social, political issues, medical issues that are interesting to women. We talk about that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Faye. Go ahead.
It has actually won consecutive awards. So I'm very, very proud. From the time it's been on air for the past 5 years, on its second year, it already won awards. Kasi walang ganun sa radyo walang ganun sa ere. Okay, ngayon meron ng iba. Pero I'm quite proud na medyo nauna ng konti na ganun. Pati yung mga orgasm, no? So, yung pinag-uusapan namin. Mga bedroom taboo talks. Yes.
Okay, very interesting program. I'm sure magkakaroon ka na maraming viewers after this broadcast ng Young Doctors to listen to those interesting topics. I have another question here, Dr. Faye, tungkol naman to sa pandemic. So as we know, you are a faculty and a consultant at the PGH. During the pandemic, what were the changes that the program has to adapt, and what would you advise our residents on the verge of quitting to stay on, hang on?
Siguro, I have an unpopular opinion. I really have an unpopular opinion about that. You're saying that on the verge of quitting to hang on. My advice is, if you really want to quit. Why would you want to stay in a situation wherein you're not happy? But before quitting, though, you should be able to have appropriate counseling. You should have already talked to your mentors. Rest for a while, no? Rest for a while. Hindi na ako, before I used to subscribe to that, June, yung rest if you must, but don't quit. But at the end of the day, you're the only one responsible for your happiness is yourself. Okay, and truth be told, no, there were so many points in my life that I wanted to quit medicine, that I wanted to quit healing people, but again, I always revert back after a few sabbatical leaves, rests, doing other stuff, balancing my life with other stuff aside from taking care of patients. Kasi nakaka-burn out. Yung puro pasyente lang. Parang, let me tell our listeners here, our watchers, we never allow our gadgets, right? You never allow your gadget to run out of battery. Ano kaya yon? As in, I panic every time I see yung charge, konti na lang. Tapos nag-aano na siya na malapit nang mamatay yung gadget ko, nagpapanik kaya ako. So parang my question to ourselves is that why do we allow ourselves to run out of energy? No, how can we give to our patients? How can we keep on serving others if we are empty? No, so we need to keep on recharging ourselves. Okay, so para hindi umabot doon sa punto na you need to quit because you're not happy, you're so burnt out, you need to constantly keep on looking for activities that will charge you or recharge you again and again. So every day, you need to have that small pockets of happiness para hindi ka aabot doon sa punto na magba-burn out ka. But now, if after doing all these strategies, and then you decide hindi mo pa rin gusto talaga yung ginagawa mo, then go. Then go. Ang advice ko talaga, do not go to the point na talagang wala na. So, ang strategy dyan is preventive. It's walang new thing. We're telling our patients to be well, to keep well. When we talk of well, it's not just the physicality, not the body. We have to think of our minds. We have to think of our soul, our spirit, our heart. So every day, doon sa schedule natin, kailangan meron palaging area or a protected time that is only for ourselves to recharge. Dr. Gap does it with music. I do it with dancing. I do it with meditation. I do it with prayers. I do it now. Plantita na ako. Hindi naman talaga ako plantita, pero plants are very nice therapy. No, so and do not be afraid to seek professional help if needed. In most cases, yun lang ang kailangan, someone to tell them that they need to take a break. Okay? And then they can come back. But if after taking a break, they don't want to come back anymore, they found themselves fine. Another unpopular opinion, being a doctor is not who I am. I am me, I am Faye, and being a doctor is just a part of who I am. So you need to find your wholeness. So that's my tip for our young colleagues. No, don't make medicine your whole life. Kasi definitely, if that's the case, you will burn out. No, you will burn out. No, if you don't have any other outlets, any other activities outside of your work. And again, fall in love with what you do, because work is never work if you are in love with it.
Thank you, Dr. Faye. Those are very interesting and very good advice to our young doctors. I have a few questions here. As you know, kasi during our time, as you said, there was only one playbook, there was only one recipe. After medical school is either do residency or just do as a general practitioner, right? And then at this time, marami na opportunities. Meron na sa corporate, meron na sa pharma industry, meron na rin sa mga as administration, right? So at this point, public health, that's correct. The other thing, I guess, what I noticed too is I see a lot of medical students that instead of going directly to residency, they're taking like a year off or two. Is that relatively common nowadays for our medical school graduates to take like a year off or two to kind of take things, slow down, and try to decipher what do I want to do in my future?
Yeah. I see a lot of students now doing that. I don't know. I think it's generational. I'm not saying it's bad. No judgments here. I'm not saying it's bad. During our time, kasi parang we were raised na, parang di ba step ladder? You do your pre-med, you do your medicine, then you do your residency, and then that's it. And then you work. Okay, parang residency is still school eh. Pero ngayon kasi sobrang daming options eh. I don't know if it's because of the exposure to technology, the globalization. They now have a lot of options that have opened up. I think part of it is being able to travel. Nung time natin, oy, kailangan mo pang naka-formal, naka-Amerikana ka pa, pupunta ka lang ng NAIA, di ba? Pupunta ka lang ng NIA para umalis, mamamasyal ka lang, pero kailangan very well dressed ka kasi you're going out of the country. Hindi na ganoon ngayon, di ba? So, times have changed. And have you heard of quarter life crisis, Dr. June? Because during our time, it's just life. Now they're having quarter life crisis, and part of that gap year, part of quarter life crisis is the gap year. Quarter life means at 25, so it's really just after finishing med school. Yeah, so they get to think of what their options are. So sobrang dami, kailangan nilang mag-isip. Tayo kasi wala tayong option, so yun lang gagawin natin. So hindi mo kailangan mag-isip, yun lang yun talaga lang gagawin mo. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, ha. There are a lot of times I wish I was born later to be able to experience their experiences. During our time, you cannot go on leave during med school to go out of the country. Hindi. Bawal mag-absent. Okay, may iwan ako ng pamilya ko. Ngayon, hindi ganun eh. So, times have changed. Times have changed. Okay. So, for us as well, as a teacher, I also need to adapt. I cannot keep on being in a fixed mold, trying to tell my students that this is how we were before, because that's not how the times are right now. So, it has to be a middle ground. So, I need to tell them how it was, pero it's looking at the positive aspects of both. Our time and your time. Kasi ngayon, parang they take it na kapag sinabi nung panahon natin, sasabihin nila, panahon nyo yun hindi nyo na panahon ngayon. Which is actually true. Again, I have 3 children. Totoo naman. And my children my children ground me. Parang, mama, your thinking is so outdated. That's not how it is. And eventually, mawawala tayo, okay? And this will be the generation that will take over the healthcare system. If I don't trust them, if I didn't trust myself that I have given them the right handles, as a teacher, as their professor, as a clinician in the hospital, if I don't trust myself that I have given them the right handles, then ano na lang mangyayari, diba? So at some point in time, I have to let go and let these young people take on the helms. Kasi we were also young once, ayaw din natin na minamanduhan tayo ng mga matatanda nung panahon natin. I was already thinking na, siguro ganito rin yung thinking natin doon sa mga older teachers natin, older generations. They were so outdated. Probably they're now thinking the same thing of us. No? We only think we're still young. Actually, hindi na tayo ganun kabata pala. No? Parang, I feel young. I feel very young inside, but we have to prepare these future leaders, and they will really be the next. I don't want heroes, pero they will be the next leaders of this nation, and we have to prepare them well. And I think we are preparing them well with this job fair, with this convention. I think this is part of us preparing them and preparing you guys, and paving the way for you. To be very, very good doctors, to be very good people. If you don't want to be doctors at the end of the day, if you don't want to be doctors only because of the title, but at the end of the day, you're administrators, you're businessmen, hindi kayo nagdodoktor, hindi kayo nagtitingin ng mga pasyente per se, but you're administrators of hospital, that's still helping people. That's still helping the healthcare system. And that's fine. That's your niche. Just find your niche. If residency, if clinical practice is not for you, that's fine. If you want to be an artist, that's also fine. Walang maling paraan ng pagsiservisyo sa taong bayan. And that's my take on that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Faye. Another question here is, alam mo, during the olden times when we're rounding with our consultants or residents, they would ask us, okay, why don't you do a research on this or that, find these articles, and usually it takes like a few days or a week to find that article. But now we have our medical students and residents, they have technology at the tip of their fingers. is it harder to teach now? Kasi people could easily correct you, right? They could Google, they could go to UpToDate. So I
Yeah.
think, would it be harder as a teacher to be correct all the time? What do you think, Dr. Faye?
Yeah. The mode that I've taken in is that I'm not a teacher. I am a facilitator of learning. Because of this technology, no, it's easier for students to find us out as frauds. Parang nauna lang tayo ng konti eh. Siguro our vast expertise, our ground experiences, no, rounds up, no, sums up yung learning nila. But in terms of theoretical, kaya nilang hanapin yung whatever it is that we know, kaya nilang aralin, but will they be able to ang wala sila is the wisdom, yung experience that we have while taking care of our patients. And I think that is something that AI cannot teach. Diba? You have to really have patient contact. You have to have experience, no? So you cannot shortcut being a good doctor, no? So the only way that you can learn how to be a doctor is to see lots and lots of patients. You cannot just say, ay magaling akong mag blood extract, mag-line ng patient. You just 10 patients. It's a skill. You keep on honing that skill. And even if I'm already a senior clinician, as much as possible, if I am available, I still try to put in a line or two for my patient. Kasi paano kapag emergency, ako lang yung doktor doon, tapos hindi na ako marunong mag-IV line, nakakahiya naman, di ba? So I need to keep on updating myself and honing my skills. Kapag dumating yung panahon na hindi ka na marunong mag-refer at magsabi na, at sinabi mo na alam mo na lahat, then that is your downfall. I think as a physician, you need to keep on learning and being humble, and you need to keep on, you need to admit that you don't know everything. The trend now is really being collaborative. You cannot do everything. Pero wag naman yung sobrang collaborative, kawawa yung pasyente, ni-refer mo na to the world kasi that will come out of the pockets of our patients. You also need to have critical thinking facilities. So yun naman din yung mga tinuturo namin sa mga bata. Of course, you can see all the things you need to do on your gadgets. But how to apply this well, then that is the time that you need to listen to your teachers. So yun. So, sige, mauuna sila, pero hindi nila makukuha yung wisdom that we have as we go through the experiences. And for my co-teachers naman, we need to admit when we are wrong. Kasi kaya nga dapat we need to keep on updating ourselves, we keep on studying, because if we keep on telling them what we have learned 5 years ago, luma na po yun. Nako, nakita na nila na bagong mga articles, ang dami ng open access na mga researches, ang daming alam ng mga bata. So if you're going to teach, make sure that you will be willing to update yourselves very, very often. Mauuna ka, mas marami kang kailangan basahin kaysa sa mga bata na ito. May mga tanong.
Okay.
June,
yeah, Dr. Faye, are you okay? Yeah. Yes, we have time to answer some of these online questions. Yeah. Dr. Faye, if you have a son or daughter graduating, anong advice nyo if they should take residency this year?
I think I have raised my children well. My youngest graduated from PT last year. He didn't want to go into medicine, buti na lang. Hindi ko rin po siya pinilit mag-medicine. Okay. Actually, ayoko mag-medicine yung mga anak ko. Pero kung yun ang gusto nila, pwede nilang gawin. So, I'm very liberal like that. Gawin mo kung ano yung gusto mong gawin. But, as a mother, I will be very fearful. But if my child decides that he or she wants to go into residency, now, full support yan. Bibilhan ko yan ng PPE, bibilhan ko yan ng PAPR. Hindi ko sasabihin sa inyo kung anong gagawin ninyo. That is the type of mothering that I do. I trust that I have raised you well to be able to think for yourselves. But if you're going to decide to go into residency, I'll be very happy. I'll be very happy to support you. I'll be fearful, but happy. Again, we have to find a stand. We have to find our moral courage. what is it that we want to do. Pag mag-decide kayo mag-residency, sana suportahan din kayo ng magulang ninyo. Yun lang.
Thank you, Dr. Faye. Those are really... Yes, very great advice for the parents out there. My next question yata, is there any time, Doc, did you doubt the residency that you are taking is not for you? Kasi you wanted to go to surgery, right, initially, yeah. But then you decided on OBGYN.
No, OB was for me. I just didn't like the people. I'm sorry. It's not really the profession. Sometimes in a workplace, no? Dr. Jun, correct me if I'm wrong, ha? It's not really the work, but the people you're working with that makes it hard, di ba? So kahit na mahirap yung residency, but the culture is you have to differentiate that. It's the culture, the people around you that makes it hard. Okay? So kahit mahirap yung residency, pero nagtutulungan kayo, magaan kasama yung mga tao mo, feeling ko hindi mo rin siya i-doubt. Minsan nagda-doubt ka kasi pinapahirapan ka ng mga tao sa paligid. But to answer the question in the shortest way, I never doubted being an obstetrician. I wanted to do other things aside from being an OB. So that's a different thing. Ang dami ko kasi gustong gawin.
Thank you, Dr. Faye. I agree. I agree with you na, in my, while I was in the US working and at the same time sa different hospitals in the Philippines, it's really the people you'll be working with that makes you a better person, that makes you a better physician. So I agree with that assessment. So could we have the next question? I think meron ba yatang pina-flash kanina. Ito. Good morning, Dr. Faye. I graduated from med school in 2014. Passed the boards in 2015, and then she went moonlighting for 2 years, after which I underwent residency training in pediatrics. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to finish my residency because I became a mommy. I guess this was the scenario we were painting earlier. Currently, I'm a GP in a government hospital, but still planning to pursue residency soon, hoping it's not too late. Ano po advice nyo on how to manage residency training on being a wife, mommy at the same time? Sometimes this becomes a drawback. But I think it was never a drawback for you, Dr. Faye.
No.
You can answer the question.
There's never a too late time in our lives. Parang dapat siguro yung too late is if we regret our decisions when we are on our deathbeds and we regret our decisions. I have seen people who have second career as doctors, no, taking up residency at the age of 40, 50, if that's really what you want, no. Kung at this point in time, family matters, makes it difficult for you to go into a full-time residency program, then wag muna. Pero if you decide to go into a residency program, sasabihin ko lang sa'yo, Iha, walang too late. Walang too late. No? I recently finished my PhD. I wanted to do PhD early on pa. Kaya lang family naman yung problema ko. So ngayon, malalaki na yung mga bata, nag-decide ako na gusto ko pa rin mag-PhD. So later on, self-fulfillment eh. But why would you want to be a pediatrician? Okay. So you need to know your motives for that. And if you really want to go into pedia residency or whatever residency it is that is closest to you, then you have to talk to your family. Okay? Kasi it will entail sacrifices. You will not have it easy. Okay? And along the way, you will only be able to savor the fruits of your endeavors after. Sa'yo yan, would you like to parang be regretful na you never really know what would have happened if you tried again at this point, no? Or regret na, di ba, nag-residency ka, hindi talaga nag-work, nag-residency ka ulit, hindi pa rin nag-work, pero at least you tried. Kesa, wag na lang. And then you should be happy with that decision. Kapag hindi ka na mag-residency, and then be happy with where you are right now. You cannot keep on looking over your shoulder, looking at the other field, no? And trying to find your happiness at where you're not. So you have to need to find contentment and happiness with where you are right now, regardless of what situation you're in. You have to make peace with that.
Faye, I think
Pero
we have time for.
walang
I think we have.
too late.
Yes, that's right. There's nothing too late. We have a couple more questions here, Dr. Faye. How would you compare and contrast residents noon at ngayon?
Mas takot kami noon. To be blunt about it, hindi na natatakot ang mga residents ngayon. In my mind, I take it, sometimes I take offense, sometimes I don't, parang hindi ako masaktan. I just think in my head na it's not personal. That's just really a generational thing. And they don't really mean to offend or be disrespectful. But noon, it's easier for us to follow rules. Siguro part of having a lot of knowledge, being able to access a lot of stuff, being able to have more opportunities than what we had, siguro in a way, mas mabait talaga tayo noon. Again, no judgment here. Is that good or is that bad? Ayoko na lang. I just accept them for who they are, what they are. I try to tell them what my thoughts are. If they'll accept it or not, no. I'll try to talk to them as adults. Kasi, siguro kaya rin very, di ba, very resistant din ang mga younger residents is because we tell them, we dictate to them what they need to do. We don't allow them to think for themselves. But probably if we deal with them, communicate with them as adults, as the same level as we are, then we will gain the respect that we think we deserve as their consultants. But definitely, ngayon, parang sinabi, pakigawa ito. Hindi po namin, trabaho yan. Wala po yan sa job description namin, sa JD. During our time, I remember, parang may cover, blanket cover yun eh. Parang may yung last number and anything and everything that your consultant will tell you to do. That's part of your job description. But that is not allowed anymore. And I understand that. So we have to be respectful also. I think we were also, at some point, abused ba yun? Hindi naman abused, pero we were just too kind. Tayo ba may problema o sila? So, hindi. Kasi we're coming from two different time frames and two different scenarios. So, definitely, iba na. Okay? Pero hindi ko sinasabing better tayo during our times.
Thank you, Dr. Faye. I agree with that perspective. Ganyan, when I deal with younger doctors, medical students, and residents, I try to understand them because there might be a generation gap which really exists. So kaya tomorrow would be a very exciting panel discussion because we will have medical students and medical residents to be discussing their perspectives in medicine and other things in life. So Dr. Faye, I think our time is running out. Do you have any last advice for our young doctors out there who are still thinking whether they need to go to residency or they should do it this year or next year or wait for 2 or 3 years? So what is your last advice to them?
So I have just 3 points. One is fall in love with what it is, wherever you are. 2, never regret. But there's no such thing as failure. Everything is a lesson. Everything that you have to go through is just a lesson for you to becoming a better version of you. And 3rd is, you're being a doctor is not who you are. It's just part of who you are. So know who you are and find your true north. That's just it. 3 main items. If you have that, you'll be happy. You'll live a well-balanced life and you will not regret your decisions. But it's okay to make mistakes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Faye Cagayan, for those wonderful life advice you're giving to our young doctors. And we are very thankful for joining us in the last hour to be part of the 2nd Young Doctors Career Conference. Thank you very much, Dr. Faye, and have a good day.
Thank you, Dr. June. Thank you, everyone, for your invitation. I hope you got something from my short sharing.
I'm sure our young doctors have learned a lot from you. Thank you, Dr. Cagayan.